Mysterious stone spheres were discovered in an ancient tomb, but the archaeologists don't know what they were meant for. They don't know what they were for. Tom Metcalf Life Science reports this on Science Alert. Two polished stone balls shaped about 5,500 years ago, linked to a mysterious practice almost unique to Neolithic Britain, have been discovered in an ancient tomb on the island of Sanday in the Orkney Islands north of mainland Scotland. Hundreds of similar stone balls, each about the size of a baseball, have been found at Neolithic sites mainly in Scotland and the Orkney Islands, but also in England, Ireland, and Norway, Life Science previously reported. Some are ornately carved, such as the famous Towie ball discovered in northeast Scotland in 1860, but others are studded with projections or smoothly polished as well. Early researchers suggest that the balls were used as weapons, and so they were sometimes called mace heads as a result. Another idea is that rope could have been wound around the lobes carved into some of the balls to throw them. But most archaeologists now think the stone balls were made mainly for artistic purposes, perhaps to signify a person's status in their community or to commemorate an important phase of their lives. This is what archaeologist Vicky Cummings, University of Central Lancashire in England, who led the excavations of the tomb, said on Sunday. These are the pictures from Central Lancaster University in England. Two stone balls found in the tomb near the beach at Tresness on Sunday, one made of black stone, the other of lighter colored limestone, are very early examples of such objects and were smoothly polished rather than being carved like a Towie ball. Kindly support my Patreon account since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. Carving balls tended to happen later in the Neolithic period, she said, while polishing balls was generally an earlier practice. The two polished balls, she said, are much simpler, but they are still beautiful objects. This is what Cummings told Life Science, saying they would have taken quite a long time to make because it is quite time consuming to polish a stone. You've got to sit there with some sand and some water and a stone, basically put in the hard work. The Neolithic tomb. This is one of the few times that stone balls have been found in their true archaeological context, Cummings said, which could shed light on the purpose of the mysterious objects. Each of the balls were found in the corners of 2 different compartments used to inter human remains in the burial chamber of the tomb, while other objects, especially pieces of pottery, were found along the compartment walls. Probably what was happening was that people were putting little slabs down, putting pots on top of these slabs, Cummings said. They really seemed to be interested in the walls and the corners. Inside the tomb, archaeologists also found a deposit of cremated human bones near the entrances of 2 of the 5 compartments in the burial chamber, as well as several scaled knives, which were made by breaking beach pebbles into flakes that had a sharp edge. You can use it as a really good butchering tool, they said, and we found tons of those in the tomb, which is really surprising. And that begs the question of what they, the makers, were up to, Cummings said. People may have used the knives as to separate flesh from the bone of the dead. It might suggest that they were manipulating the human remains that were placed in the chamber. There are many traditions and lots of examples of that, she said. The ancient islands. The Orkney Islands are beyond the very northernmost part of mainland Scotland. They are dotted with archaeological sites, including a UNESCO World Heritage Site called the Heart of Neolithic Orkney, around the Ness of Brodgar Complex and the Neolithic village of Skara Brae, which suggests the islands were well populated about 5,000 years ago. The Orkney Islands might seem remote when you look at a map, but when you come here, you see that They are incredibly rich agricultural land, and that's very easy to work. I think Neolithic people got here and were really successful. They found an environment that they just thrived in. The excavations on Sunday have been a joint effort between the University of Central Lancashire team, led by Cummings, and archaeologists from the National Museums of Scotland, led by Hugo Anderson Weimark. The ancient tomb is near the coast and is vulnerable to being disturbed by a storm at sea, so the researchers are trying to find out as much as possible before the site is damaged. The tomb and Neolithic settlement, they've excavated about a mile, that's 1.6 kilometers away, would have been farther from the coast 5,500 years ago, and the landscape would have had more trees than it does today, she said. Although the tomb was investigated in the 1980s, only superficial excavations were made that did not reveal its own old age. During the latest excavations, which took about 4 years to conclude, the researchers applied the latest archaeological techniques to the tomb, including making a three-dimensional photogrammetric model of it, Cummings said. The archaeologists will now conduct analysis of the data gathered during the excavations, which hopefully will provide even more information about Neolithic people of these islands. This was originally from Live Science, and it's on Science Alert. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support.